The cinema is a giant industry that has been operating for many years. As every industry, things are not done randomly. You don't choose which film to make without studying it first, nor do you choose an actor or a director randomly. That's why the scripts are reviewed a lot. We know what word and what gesture the actor is going to make in each moment, but in spite of that, some films leave us some improvised moments that make the scenes better. A lot of the improvised scenes happen because the actor is very much in the role. It's amazing to see how some actors give their all for the part even if they have some injury. They believe it so much that sometimes when the shot is over they are still a few seconds into the role. Number 11, The 40-Year-Old Virgin. Paul Rudd and Seth Rogen improvise the part where they are playing video games and start arguing over who is the guest. The scene had a couple of sentences, but at the moment of the recording they got excited and extended it a bit more.
You know, I know you're gay. You just told me you're not sleeping with women anymore.
You know how I know that you're gay?
How? Because you're gay and you can tell who other gay people are?
You know how I know you're gay?
How?
You like Coldplay.
In the extended version of the film you can also see a scene where the two are driving and continue to argue. This scene was also improvised. This day they were very creative, because the scene is 3 minutes long, talking about the same thing.
You know how I know you're gay?
Oh.
You're wearing a white tie.
You know how I know you're gay?
How?
You're not so crazy about Gloria Estefan, but you love Miami Sound Machine.
It is also said that the scene where the actor Steve Carell shaves his chest was his idea.
And that was just a dumb idea. It was my idea too, so I only have myself to blame.
Number 10, The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. In this scene, the actors had to lament, but Aragorn went one step further. He didn't have to hit the helmet or kneel down screaming. All this was improvised. Well, the kneeling and screaming was a real reaction. It turns out that in The Lord of the Rings they wanted to give more authenticity to the film and they made the helmets out of metal. The actor Viggo Mortensen knew that and the first time he kicked it nothing happened. The director liked the way it looked when he shot the helmet, so they did several shots. Unfortunately, in one shot he hit the helmet too hard and broke 2 fingers. They liked his scream of pain so much, they left that scene in the movie. Number 9, Tarzan the Ape Man, 1932 film. It may seem that I have put this film to fill the video, or because I have not found another one, but it is not so. I have chosen this film because even though it is from 1932 and it is in black and white, I find very interesting what the actor and swimmer Johnny Weissmuller improvised. He was the first to make the famous Tarzan's cry. Other actors didn't make it, but he did it so well that we still imitate him for the current movies. Number 8, Django Unchained. Django is one of those movies that I thought I liked after seeing it. The truth is that it is expected because its director is Quentin Tarantino, and all the actors did it very well, but let's get to the point. When this movie was made there was still the meme that Leonardo DiCaprio had not won any Oscars despite his good performances. The improvised scene is started by DiCaprio. You can say that it was a painful improvisation because he ended up bleeding. To show his anger, he hit the table. Where he had hit it, crystals were there and he cut himself, without caring about the scene in the role. Luckily the other actors continued to act instead of asking him if he was okay. He was cut for nothing. I'm not sure if Leonardo did it on purpose. I've seen the scene many times and he sees the crystals before hitting the table. Maybe he didn't have time to remove his hand. Whatever, the scene was incredible, and once again Leonardo DiCaprio showed what a good actor he is.
Hey! Lay your palms flat on that tabletop! If you lift those palms off that turtle shell tabletop, Mr. Pooch is gonna let loose with both barrels that sawed off!
Number 7, The Dark Knight. Heath Ledger surprised everyone with his incredible performance in the film. In fact, you could say that he overshadowed Christian Bale, the main character. Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy shocked everyone who saw it, but I do not know if they expected that Joker, the bad guy, ended up being the star, the person for whom we all remember the film. During the film Ledger was able to improvise many times, as Joker is a character that allows it. His improvisations made his partners not know how to react, and that was very good. For example, at the moment of the applause he didn't appear on the scene. There are two moments in the film that became very famous. The first is the interrogation scene, in which after a short conversation Batman gets desperate and starts hitting him. Ledger at the time of the filming asked him to hit him for real, not with all his strength of course, but he wanted to feel the blow so that the reaction would be more real.
Where are they? Choose between one life or the other. Your friend, the district attorney, or his blushing bride to be.
Another moment, perhaps more famous, was when the Joker, after leaving the hospital, activated the bomb. This scene was written, like the typical epic explosion, when the protagonist goes backwards and without turning around blows up, but the detonator failed and was not activated. Then Ledger turns around and starts playing with the detonator, and if I'm not mistaken it was a real detonator. Nolan must have thought that this way it would be more real. At the end when it explodes he runs to the bus, because he knows that if not could not use the shot. Number 6, Taxi Driver. Robert De Niro not only improvised the most famous scene in the film, but it may be one of the most famous in the cinema. I'm sure most of you have seen Taxi Driver. They may be one of Martin Scorsese's most famous movies. We all know what a great director Scorsese is, but the most famous scene in the movie was improvised. I'm talking about Robert De Niro talking himself through a mirror. This shot was meant for the actor, in this case De Niro, to improvise. In the same script it only said that he had to talk to himself in front of a mirror. After a few recordings, not only did he do it but he also created the famous phrase,
Talking to me? You talking to me? You talking to me? Then who the hell else are you talking? Talking to me?
Number 5, Guardians of the Galaxy. Chris Pratt played a good role as Star-Lord. Star-Lord is a character similar to the Joker, in the sense that both leave room for the actors to improvise. But Chris Pratt didn't voluntarily improvise the scene, well at least the beginning of it. I mean the scene where he drops the ball. It wasn't planned, it just fell, and he continued as if nothing had happened. Taking into account the character's character, the scene was very good. Number 4, Pirates of the Caribbean. Johnny Depp played Jack Sparrow, a pirate, with a way of being very funny. Too many. So far there have been 5 movies, it doesn't seem that they are made more, at least with Johnny Depp. These 5 movies have left some funny moments. It's not clear how much improvisation Johnny Depp has done in the past. The polemic scene is that Jack says I got a jar of dirt. This is not confirmed by anyone, so there is discussion as to when it starts. Some say that it starts at the beginning of the scene, which means that Jack accidentally falls down and then continues. But it seems that they are different falls, at least it seems that way with the camera change. The other possibility is that he's just improvising when he's already fallen. The truth is that in these cases it is better for each one to look himself and get his own concussion. Number 3, The Empire Strikes Back. Harrison Ford, he played an incredible role as Han Solo, in fact one of my favorite Star Wars characters. Solo, unlike some of the other characters I've mentioned before, is not loved for his jokes, but people love him for his character, which is a bit self-centered, very confident of himself, and for the clever phrases he used to say. The key I think was the great charisma that Harrison Ford gave to the character. So taking into account his character, he improvised a couple of words that gave another tone to the scene. In the scene are Chewbacca, Han Solo, and Princess Leia. When they have to say goodbye, Leia says I love you. Here is the scene written, but they thought it was empty, so the director told her to answer, as Hans would do by himself. Instead of answering him like many people would, he said I know. I don't know how it must have seemed to them at the time, but now it is a phrase remembered by many and it fits the role very well.
I love you.
I know.
Number 2, Full Metal Jacket. Ronald Learmy played the role of Gunnery Sergeant Hartman. In the beginning his participation in the film was only as an advisor, to make the film more realistic. He was a Marine, so he knew how the army worked. It was because of his experience as a Marine that he got the part. The director tested him and gave him the role. It was easy for him to get into the role, which he had always done. I guess he made it funnier for the role. They gave him 40 minutes to insult all the recruits. All the phrases were improved. He's really good at improvising insults. It's funny when you're on a screen, but imagining you're the guys next door and can't even move, it must have been difficult. Number 1, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Raiders of the Lost Ark was Indiana Jones' first movie. Harrison Ford once again played a character that would become mythical. I'm not going to give my opinion of the movies, because you have to see them if you haven't seen them yet. This scene was meant to be an epic, long drawn out fight. But Harrison's food that day felt very bad and he couldn't jump or run. So he just asked Spielberg if he could shoot him. It really did look better that way because it fit more with the Indiana Jones personality. I don't know why, but the first time I saw this scene I loved it. It's weird, because it's very simple and short, but I liked Indiana Jones' attitude. The truth is that Harrison Ford played the character perfectly, one of the best characters, for my taste. I've commented on this before with Han Solo, and I'm saying it again because I think it's true. Ford has the ability to make his characters charismatic without the need to overreact, or make bad jokes. I think that's it. Give a like if you like it and see you soon.